What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a Tuesday edition of Back Your Play with Q. I'm your host, as always, Rich Quinones. We are brought to you by our good friends over at Play It Again Sports, 1450 Clemensbridge Road in Deptford. Give them a call and check them out on the website. Just put in playitagainsports.com/New Jersey. NBA playoffs are heating up. Yeah, two monumental games last night. If we want to say they were choke jobs or colossal collapses or comes back, hey, we'll get into the whole gamut of it. Our good friend Jonathan Marshall on X at John_Marshall3, and of course, sports report anchor at WMUR, kind enough to join us for a couple moments on a Tuesday edition of BYP. And I guess we'll start with my New York Knicks. Let me say this. I thought it was going to be a tough series.
Yeah.
No Randall. You knew that it was going to be pretty much ball-oriented offense that would revolve around Brunson. Love what I'm seeing with the role players. Last night could have been I've been here before, colossal loss in the franchise of the Knicks, right? Creeping, 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 getting over the hump, and then not being able to close it. Instead, the ball bounced in their favor with the back-to-back threes late. We'll get into, I guess you can say, the extras that occurred in the final moments, but it's a huge win last night by the Knicks over the Sixers. 2-0 lead right now, best of seven, still a very long series. What's your takeaway from last night?
Where do we begin, Q? Um, Kudos to the Knicks first and foremost. They took advantage of the moment, loose balls,
Yep.
rebounds, hustle. So when it comes down to situations where we're looking at the refs for blowing certain calls,
Yep.
Knicks hustled and they overcame that, right? Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, Deuce McBride. These are guys stepping up, guys who were counted out with Julius Roundabout. We thought, okay, Brunson, can he carry that offensive load?
Yes.
He's been struggling, but kudos for Josh Hart
Yep.
and Dante DiVincenzo doing what they have.
Hartstein with some big buckets.
Hartenstein, exactly. Can't say the same about the Tobias Harrises of the world, the Kelly Oubre's of the world, Buddy Hildes of the world. First playoff series for Buddy Hield, and it looks like it, right? And so to me, it comes down to this. On one side, a team is hustling and the role players are stepping up. On the other side, in key moments, the other team isn't hustling. They aren't focused. There are mental lapses, and the role players look like they're too scared of the moment.
Yeah.
That's simple as
I,
that.
as good as Maxey is, and he's been great, and you mentioned, pardon me, some of the role players. Embiid, we can sit there and say he gutted it out, but I also thought there was a lot of deferring, not wanting the ball in the big spot. Now, he made the right pass late to Maxey, obviously, but you want to be the man, you got to act like the man. You certainly got to play with the man. I mean, he strikes me, I've always thought Embiid was a front runner. I think he's a great player, but for some reason he stinks come playoff time. He's not the same player in the regular season, averaging 35. If he's injured, he's injured. There should be no excuses. Either you're going to sit him or you're going to restrict him with his minutes,
Right.
or he's going to play and just suck it up, right? You mentioned, the role players of the Knicks stepping up and having big games. It's just they were settling for way too many jump shots. I did not like their offense at times, especially when it was starting to get a little tight late in the game, but they outworked, they out hustled, they out muscled, they went for loose balls. I mean, even the play where, it was a loose ball off the 3-point miss. I think it was off the Brunson miss, and then it was tipped around. Maxey had it. If you're Nick Nurse, I'm sorry, off the Brunson, if you're Nick Nurse, you've got to call timeout as soon as that ball hits twine. You've got to be very decisive and animate it, right? You got to scream it out. And we can sit here and talk about some of the ticky-tack fouls, and I get it, because I thought there were some plays where Embiid should have been called for offensive charge. I thought Maxey a couple times. So I don't want to hear about the officiating. The Sixers, I think, are the better team. But the
Right.
Knicks role players right now are stepping up, and the Knicks showed you through two games that they've got players that you can rely on other than Brunson, where the Sixers, it's Embiid and Maxey, and that's pretty much it. And eventually Maxey's going to have a 6 for 23 type of shooting night. I mean, it's inevitable. But to your point, the role players of the Sixers just they're not good. They're just not. And look, I don't know what you think about the officiating. I just think it happens. Years ago, I text my buddies and I was like, this was a 15, 20 years ago, this was going to be a colossal Knicks loss, right? The Knicks have had certain type of games where they've had miracles at the end. LJ, the 4-point play, fine. Hewing with the tip and dunk. Okay. But last night had the makings of here we go. 1-1 back to Philly. Life sucked out of you. You're done. You brought up the officiating. I mean, what do you want? It's the NBA playoffs, man. We've seen it across the board because the
Yeah.
Sixers are going to get makeup calls in Philly. We know that.
Oh, of course, of course. Yeah, it's both things can be true, right? The Sixers role players blew it. They didn't do their jobs to the full capabilities. And the refs blew some calls too,
Yeah.
right? The Knicks aren't complaining though, right?
No,
And we know why. They
because they
made the
won the
plays
game.
that counted. They knew. And coming into it, we talked about it before. My concern with Embiid was not offensively, defensively. With that knee, the conditioning, is he going to be able to be engaged in the fourth quarter to make the big plays defensively that needed to be made? And we see he couldn't have. Fourth quarter,
He got
what press
outworked.
fourth quarter, and this is what we've seen over the
Yep.
years, fourth
Yep.
quarter conditioning, right? Like there's at this point there is there's a trend. Um, and it's a tricky situation, right, with Embiid because of the injury. He's battling, we get it. But at the same time, if you're out there, I can't I can't sugarcoat my critique of your game. If you're out there, you're out there. If you're hurt, then don't play. And that's the bottom line. Um, and so it comes down to once again the Sixers being a mentally weak and soft team. And we've seen
Yep.
this team over the years show up and prove themselves to be who we think they are,
Yeah.
time and time again. And we say they're the better team. Yes, they have the better duo right now. It's just Brunson for New York as far as all-star talents. But outside of that, I would take Josh Hart. I would take Dante DiVincenzo
Yep.
over anybody else
100%.
of Maxey and Embiid. As a team
Yeah.
right now, the Knicks are better. That's just the bottom line. Pound for pound,
And,
hustling, making big plays. They're the better team.
yeah. And listen, he called timeout twice. I get it. But if you listen to the TNT, even the post, they were like, you have to be adamant. This one you have to call. It happens, man. We want to sit here and say they got screwed. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. But also, if you're Lowry, make the foul shots late, right? I mean, don't get outworked underneath the boards if you're the Philadelphia 76ers, because once you regain the lead and started to pull away 3, 4, 5 points, you just knew the Knicks, and I know they're a gritty team, but I've seen it too many times for the past 30 something odd years. Eventually, there was going to be rush down the floor, take an ill-advised three, which they were doing, and the Sixers get a fast break point. Now, all of a sudden, the lead balloons up to 7, and you're forced to foul, and the Sixers get out of there and win a win. So, um, I just don't think they can rely on Maxey this whole series. And like I say, the calls are going to go in the Sixers' favor in game 3 and 4 in Philly because that's the NBA
Right.
and that's just how it is. But be that as it may, listen, if Randall's out on the floor, I don't know if you're getting the type of spacing and the opportunities if you're in the Knicks with the offense, but I also think they missed that rebounder, rim
Oh,
protector,
yeah.
that interior presence. I think eventually it's going to rear its ugly head. And
Yeah.
that's why I still think it's a long
Yeah.
series. But hey, man, and I can tell you this game threes over the course of the New York Knicks franchise in the playoffs have always been their bugaboos. They
Yeah.
always figure out a way to lose a game 3. So, uh, I listen, I just think that they showed a lot of moxie and heart last night, and I can appreciate it. Um, and now people are going to start, looking at Nick Nurse and, the Sixers want to file a grievance with the NBA. Come on, man, take the L and just move on, will you?
It is what it is. The game. What does that do for you? Are we going to
Does
run that?
nothing. You're
Are
not
we
going
going
to
to run it
replay the
back?
game.
You know what I mean? And so the reality of it is this: as Sixers fans watching it, at this point, it's like you can't even be surprised because what will go wrong will go wrong. What can
Yeah.
happen will happen. And so this is a trend. Like I said, what's been the bugaboo for the Sixers? You can't get out of the second round. Well, hello, first round. You might not even get out of the first round. So at what point do you say, okay, mentally, this team just does not have it? There are certain qualities that a championship team has. We saw with the Nuggets last night. There are certain things that championship teams do, even when they're struggling. What did Jamal Murray do? He struggled throughout that game, but when it
Yep.
mattered most,
20 point rally. And correct me if I'm wrong. I don't recall Michael Jordan's teams ever blowing 20 point second half leads. I mean, LeBron can say whatever he want at this moment, but ultimately, I mean, first of all, why didn't they foul in that situation? Even the radio call, the announcers like foul, foul, foul. And to your point, it was a great play by Murray.
Yeah.
just dribbled around a little bit, milk the clock, step back, boom, and there we go. And that's a great win. Um, it's a brilliant win when you think about it, because I've been on the other end of seeing my team choke away big leads. And when you do that, your character is going to be revealed if you can take the liver shot and get back up and make it a series. Right now, to me, this series is over.
No, it's over. It was over before game one. Like,
I,
let's just keep it. Let's
but
just be
this
honest.
is yes,
It's over. You know, it's funny. It feels like Denver almost plays with the emotions of Lakers fans. Like, here you go. You might get this one. Nope. And watching this game, like, I'm texting people like, yo, this lead isn't safe. Denver's going to, like, they're going to come back. Like,
no.
we know,
Basket games run. It's a game of runs.
and especially in this matchup with Denver, there's another level
Yep.
that they can
Yep.
tap into. They have
Yep.
guys who can actually make plays in Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr., Christian Braun coming off the bench and scoring 10 points, right? Contavious Caldwell Pope with a big dunk, energizing the crowd, energizing the team. When it matters most, you can complain about the refs. That's why the Lakers, to me, have no business mentioning the refs in this one. You have a lead. Your two best players. AD had a great game. Let's just call it what it is. He
Huge.
did what he had to do.
32 and 11. 32 and 11.
Right?
Big game. LeBron, big game. Russell, big game. But they got crushed on the boards.
The little things, Q. We talk about Sixers, Knicks. These are the little things that championship teams do and the non-championship teams don't do. And there was some execution that the Lakers offensively in the half court. I'm like, what are you doing? That was a wasted possession. This is a wasted possession. Got to look at coaching at this point. And your role players, Rui Hachimura, 3 points. Austin Reeves, 9 points. Torian Prince, you get 6 points off the bench. It's not going to get it done. Like,
Yeah.
you cannot beat this team. The margin of error is so slim. You have to be near perfect. And Denver show, like, whenever they want to, they can tap into the next level. And Jokic is just he's just a beast. Like, there's
He's
nothing that by the fourth quarter, AD has nothing left.
yeah,
It's a peak down there. It's food.
it's just amazing. I mean, I just think he's this generation Larry Bird, what he does with
Oh,
the
no,
basketball
he's
on the
great.
floor. He's he's unreal. Cavs get the win over Orlando. Not the sexiest series. I know you and I talked about it a little bit, but then you've got Minnesota
Mhm.
looking to go up 2-0 tonight against Phoenix. And then you've got Milwaukee looking to go 2 up over the Bucks. You got the Mavericks and the Clippers as well. And as far as that Boston Heat series, I look, I mean, I think Boston Miami shot, but I want to get your thoughts on a couple of the other series that I mentioned. Suns Timberwolves, we talk about the big three with Phoenix. I just, again, I still can't figure this out. And I think if you're not a fan of Minnesota or you really haven't watched Minnesota, you can see that Edwards is a stud, man. He is a flat out big time player.
It's exciting to see. And then he's talking trash to Bradley Bill and KD. Like, this could be the moment. I mean, out of all the young players in the league right now, this is probably the biggest moment for Anthony Edwards, because he has the shoe deal, he has the commercials. Come playoff time, this is where we judge great young players, right? And so this is his moment, and to see him rise up to the occasion against future Hall of Famer and Kevin Durant, I mean, that was huge. And so to me, this comes down to Ant Edwards
Yep.
rising to the occasion for Minnesota and rising above, playing against Booker and KD and Bill. On the flip side, bottom line, Booker and KD they got to be at their best. They cannot afford to slack off because the Suns don't have depth to begin with, right? And so it's up to Booker and KD. That's just the bottom line, because
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards is going to be ready. He's young. He's hungry. KD has to answer the call now.
Uh,
Booker too.
yeah. Speaking of answering the call, how about the Clippers in
Yeah.
game one, right? I think we were looking at this series against the Dallas Mavericks, and the first thing I was thinking of, hey, you know what, this is going to be, this is going to be a pretty good series. It's going to be competitive. Here we go, and this is where you look at teams that they find a way to win late, and over the years, the Clippers and the roster and the makeup, they weren't a team that was really able to close out games,
Right.
but you start to get, I don't want to say vintage or turn back the clock, James Harden, And then you
Yeah.
get George in the mix. You know, you still got a veteran who's a big time player in the playoffs in his career, who's been there before in Westbrook. I mean, they've got the role players. You know, tonight it's got to be a Luca and Kyrie type of night for the Dallas Mavericks, right? And you know, they might combine for 70 something odd shots tonight.
They have to. And I think for the Clippers, they've heard the talk. Most everybody's picking the Mavericks, right? On the strength of Luca and Kyrie, two great players. But on the flip side, it's like I'm PG and Harden and those guys, they got to guard us too. I don't think Luca and
Yeah,
Kyrie are making any all defensive teams, right? And on the flip side for the Clippers as well, looking at Derrick Jones Jr., PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, nice role players, but the Clippers aren't phased by that. And
right.
those three guys that I just mentioned have to prove themselves on the playoff stage. Washington's coming over from Charlotte. Gafford's coming over from Washington. Two stellar franchises, right? You got to prove yourself. You have to prove yourself on the playoff stage. PG has been there. James Harden has been in the playoffs. Westbrook has been there. Like the Clippers have been there. Ty Lue has been there, won a
Yeah,
championship. And so the Clippers, veteran, experience, they're proven. The Mavs, obviously, Luca and Kyrie have to carry the major load, but outside of that, they got a bunch of guys that got to prove themselves in the playoff time. They got to come with it. And I
yeah,
think for Ty Lue and the Clippers, it's like, yeah, we want this. So that's what we saw in Game 1 tonight for the Clippers. I mean, for the Mavs, you got to win it. You have
yeah.
to.
I still like the Bucks in their
Yeah.
series, and then Pelicans and Thunder. I just think unfortunate that you know you have to deal with the blow with Zion, right? I
Mhm.
mean, injuries happen. It stinks
Yeah.
when some of these players get injured. But uh, I, 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 s- I think when it's all said and done, I'm still going to stand beside my Boston and Denver.
Yeah.
But OKC, Clippers, you know, maybe facing
Yeah.
Denver or meeting Denver in the Western Conference Finals. I think that would be a wide open kind of track meet.
It'll be fun. But then the ultimate Joker card, though, that's the one thing that's like,
He's the
man,
X factor this whole playoffs.
it's just any given point, Q, he can say, okay, I'm going to score here and I'm going to do it. There's nothing you
Yep.
can't rush me. There's no defense that you can scheme up because if you focus on me too much, I can pass it with the best of them. I'm one of
Yeah.
the best passing big men, if not the best ever, right? And so that's the thing with this Denver squad. We know once again with the Lakers, no lead is safe, and the margin of error is so slim. And so I still think it's Denver and Boston. Boston, to me, I was at the game on Sunday. If they can't make the finals this year, I don't. It's an ultimate failure
Uh,
because looking at the Eastern Conference right now, there's no excuse for them not to make
yep.
it. They should take care of the Heat 5 games max. The Heat have no answer.
Yep, agree 100%. So playoffs continue tonight, and don't forget, as Jonathan mentioned, the Boston Celtics. He looks for them to get back to the NBA Finals. I agree 100%. Give Jonathan a follow on X at John underscore Marshall 3, and of course, sports reporter anchor for WMUR. I would love for the Knicks to be up 3-0. I would feel very confident, but
This
I
is
have a
over. Yeah.
feeling. I have a feeling this series is still going to go 6-7.
Q, as you followed the Sixers over the years and
Yeah,
you know how this thing goes.
sure,
We know how this ends. I feel like we know how it ends. I don't obviously game 3 is a must win for Philly. If they lose that,
100%.
might as well forget about it, right? I do think they can get at least one win at home, but I just they gotta show me. Tobias Harris has to show me. Buddy Hill has to show me. Kelly Oubre has to. They got to show me. At this point, bring Ricky Council. KJ Martin. Like at least I know those guys are going to bring energy. If Buddy Hill
Hmm.
isn't making shots, what is he bringing to the floor as a basketball
Yeah.
player? He
And,
can't play him.
and then when they lose and they get bounced, you're going to have the conversation we did last summer about Embiid not
It's
being
the
happy.
same. Like the playoffs are my favorite time of the year for the NBA because it's like the same narratives, the same storylines that we know historically tend to repeat themselves.
100%.
There's certain trends with teams.
100%.
Which is the same trend.
Yeah.
So
No, you're right about that. So, all right, brother. Enjoy the games tonight. I locked in. I love when we have 2 or 3 games. I'm not happy that, you get Sixers and Knicks on Thursday with the NFL draft. That's kind of,
yeah, that's
what are we
kind of
doing
bad.
there? Why is the
I
NBA
like
trying to
that.
go up against the NFL?
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, That should
Um,
be a single night for
And to be
itself.
honest, I'll be watching the basketball game because I know the Giants are either going to draft a tackle or another quarterback. So I really have no desire to watch the NFL draft.
JJ McCarthy, here we come.
Stop.
Let's get it. The future.
Just give me my Knicks and my Yanks right now. We'll talk about the Giants in a couple weeks. So always appreciate a couple moments, brother. Thank you.
All right, Q.